deserve it. We want you to be here with us.
Networking's been great. The food, the fun, everything's just been fantastic. 5-star, top notch.
We have seen over 30 whales. Let's go, Alaska!
Alaska!
It's the only way you can associate and get to know people and make a friend before you need a friend.
It's just been nuts. Parties, dinners, celebrations, hey, and game planning for the future. How are we going to spend the next 30 years? What are the crazy things we're going to do? Come go with us. Let's go. Check it out.
In 2025, the Alliance will travel to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, and I want to highlight where we will be staying. So for the first part of the trip, we will be staying at the Grand Fiesta Americana. The Grand Fiesta Americana is a beachfront property nestled in the mountains of Cabo San Lucas. This all-inclusive resort has so much for us to do. You can spend your day swimming in one of their many pools, or why don't you check out their brand new spa? Try one of their 7 or more restaurants. Grab ice cream with your friends. This property is a short car distance to downtown Cabo where all the fun happens. Is there an extension in Cabo? Of course there's an extension. The Alliance wouldn't do it any other way. So, for you extension earners, you will be traveling to Viceroy Resort and Spa. This location is located right outside of San Jose, a very unique and authentic part of Mexico. It has the look and feel of a spaceship that landed on the edge of the Sea of Cortez and decided to turn itself into a hotel. Boasting 4 pools, an art gallery, kids club, fitness center, boutique, and 5 fantastic restaurants. If you have traveled with the Alliance before, you know that we do everything 5-star, first class, all the way. If this is your first trip with us, you're in for a treat. Come join us in Cabo.
It's 2024, and you are at the family reunion, and it will change your life. What's up, Alliance Nation? Let me hear you make some noise!
Motivation doesn't last, but you know what lasts? Discipline.
We are in this war against poverty for ourselves and for our families.
Get out there, bust your behind, and do, baby!
Choose your hard. It's hard to get rich and it's hard to be poor.
Now my question is to you, what are you gonna do about it?
Ain't nobody gonna shake my family tree.
National Boot Camp is coming up. We need for you to be there because we are gonna be there. Ain't that right, baby?
Welcome to Wednesday Call Live. Now, let's hear it for our special guest host, Stephen Davies.
So excited to be hosting TWC this week. We are in an exciting run. So Monday, I'm going to be in Detroit, Michigan, doing a hot spot with the Straughters, with Jeremico, and we have been stacking meetings there. They just had a boot camp there, so I'm so excited to be there on Monday. The next week, that Monday, I think it's the 7th, I'm going to be in Salt Lake City. That Tuesday, I'm in Dallas, which, by the way, as the Alliance, we need to own Dallas. We need to own Dallas. Like, we should have Hotspot 200 people all over the city. Like, I'm just telling you, we should own it. The following day, I'll be in Atlanta with James Coleman and Adam Bursch, fired up about that. And then we're rolling right into National Boot Camp. So it's just one of those times where it's like the energy's flowing high. It's an exciting time, and we are making some things seriously happen. So today, what we're going to talk about, as you saw from the email, if you saw it, is time management. Now, I really wish I would have been able to put some content together for it, but I just didn't get around to it. So, I'm kidding. Of course, we put content together. It would be funny, though. That would be the irony, to not have time to put together content about how to manage your time. That'd be like being a chubby personal trainer. Just wouldn't make sense. All right, so let's get going. So here's what I'm talking about. And the reason time management is such a passionate thing to me is because it's about life, right? Like life. With the things you and I have done, and this is a foundational truth I really want to get on your mind and heart, on my mind and heart, on my guest's mind and heart before we get into the content. This is a foundational truth. Like, this is true whether or not you agree with it, right? If you disagree with gravity, it does not make it not true, right? If you jump off your roof, you are not going sideways because it's true all the time. This is one of those foundational truths. The things that you have done in life so far have in fact been paid for with your life so far. And that's why time is so key, right? Like, anytime I've screwed up and lost money on something, I don't worry too much because we can make that back. The thing I freak out about, the thing I'm paranoid about is time, because you can't get that back. There's nobody laying in a hospice bed right now, and then the doctor comes over and he says, we ran the tabulations. It appears, based on our calculations, that you have just wee-weed away about 3 years of your life on stupid stuff. So we're going to go ahead and put that 3 years back in you, and you can have it. That's how it works. So think about this. The good days, the bad days, the productive days, the non-productive days, the angry days, the happy days, the sad days. We have paid for all of that with our life thus far. So if you are going to be paranoid about managing any one asset, it is time, because that's what life is. In fact, we are all on this call and we're going to pay for it with an hour of our life. That's why I take these calls so serious when I'm asked to do it, because I know what you're paying for it with. Does that make sense? Like, when you come to National Boot Camp, we're going to bring the heat because we know what you're paying for it with. And so moving forward, if you and I can just heighten that sense of paranoia about what we're paying for everything with, because we are paying for it with life. Now, before we get into the call, I want to give you 4 resources. And if you don't use these 4 resources, I don't know what to do for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, these 4 resources drive the way I think about time. Very early on, I called Andy and I was frustrated and I was like, there's just not enough time. I've got this going. I got this. I just not enough time. I can't get this done. I can't get that done. And he said, do yourself a favor, buy the book, Getting Things Done by David Allen. If you have not read that book, you are less efficient than the rest of us. So put it on your list, Getting Things Done by David Allen. And there's another book called Eat That Frog. If you're not a reader, start with that one because it's closer to a pamphlet than a book. Sometimes you got to, let's take the easy ones first. Eat That Frog, and then First Things First by Stephen Covey. Those are the 3 books, and then the video resource I want to give you. And Handy, maybe we could send this out to everybody afterwards. Right before the call, Handy's like, "Do you need anything special?" And I was like, "Nope." And then just in this moment, I thought, I need something special. So,
you can have something sent out, Davies. I approve.
Yes, Other Stephen is so smart. I love Other Stephen. Handyman Uno. So the call Andy did, and I believe it's April of 2023 on ABCDE on managing time. Those are the 4 resources. Like, we're going to give you good stuff today, and we're going to give you our all. I promise you that. But I need you to utilize those 4 resources, because those 4 resources shape the way I think about time. Those 4 resources heighten my paranoia about time. I was just talking with Tia Land yesterday, and we were talking about how busy days can be unproductive. And that's like the worst, right? Because you can be busy and still be broke. You can be busy and still be non-productive. Busy is what people go for, and they think, I take it at the end of the day, it's like, I was busy today. Woo! Good for me. I was busy. I was on my grind. I was on my grind all day. People love talking about the grind. It's like, let's talk about effectiveness. Does that make sense? Let's talk about effectiveness. All right. So before we get into it, there's 3 things that we have to manage when it comes to time. We tend to think of time management, right? And we just throw it all in this one big bin. It's time management. Now, that's good. We need to be thinking about time. But here's the fallacy and behavior that it drives when we only focus on time management. We simply focus on what I'm doing when, right? We put a calendar together. We go, ha-ha, time manager. That's just part of it. There's really 3 things when it comes to effectiveness that you and I have to manage. And I'm going to talk to all 3 throughout the call today. Time is one of them. Yeah, absolutely. Tick tock. It's 12:36. We're almost 7 minutes into this call. Time is one of the things you have to manage. Right? If I spent 30 minutes on this intro, then the rest of the call doesn't happen the way it's supposed to. You have to manage the time, right? Some of my early talks would be like, when you're making a poster and you start with like giant letters and then you start realizing you're running out of poster. When I go back and listen to some of my earlier talks, that's what it's like. The introduction was good and long. The meat was short. What are you gonna do? You get better, we grow. But you gotta get good at managing time, right? But here's the other 2 things, and this has everything to do with effectiveness. You've got to manage your energy and your attention. Because you can be doing the tasks on a calendar, but if you're not doing them with it, then look this up. Think and Grow Rich, QQS. This Andy showed me that 24 years ago, drives a lot of my thinking. Am I doing it in the quantity with the quality of service, with this in the spirit of service that the action merits, right? I used to think about a guy, he would get on the dial jam and he'd be making his dials, but I'm like, he looks like he's asleep. He's just like this. No energy. He's not managing his energy. I don't know where his energy's going, but it is not going into his phone calls. Does it make sense? And then attention. I'm going to talk about the fallacy of multitasking. Every time I talk about it, this is so funny. I'll teach like a hotspot about not multitasking, and then inevitably somebody has to come up to me afterwards and go, I hear you on that, but I'm a great multitasker. I was like, I don't think you heard me on that. How do you manage your attention? There's 3 depths of attention that we all have throughout the day, and I'm going to talk about those depths of attention, because it's all 3 together that makes you effective. When you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, when you're supposed to be doing it, and you're bringing the level of energy and attention that it deserves, that's when you're massively effective. That's when you're massively effective. That's the difference between, by the way, between your sales days where you are just lighting it up and your sales days where you're struggling and frustrated. It's mismanagement of time, energy, and attention. So all 3 together is what creates efficiency. Now, inside of that, here's what we're going to talk about on the call. The first thing we're going to talk about is the 3 basics of time management, of effective time management. Now, keeping in mind the 3 things I gave you before, when we're talking about effective time management, we're talking about effectively managing all 3 things at the same time. Makes sense? So we're going to talk about those 3 things. I've got some of my buddies on the call that are going to share some thoughts with you on each of those 3 things. And then I've got some principles and practices behind that go into all 3, right? So it's just like anything. You've got steps, but then there's principles that go into that, and they touch often on all 3 steps. So let's talk about the first thing first. The first basic of being effective time management is to establish clear priorities and objectives. If you don't have clear priorities and objectives, you can have a full calendar, but you're not being effective. You can have, like, my calendar is full, but if it's not being driven by clear priorities and objectives, we're not being effective. And just as a thought before I get Adam on, if you have more than a few priorities, you have no priorities. Does that make sense? And that's how most people's, like, if you looked at most people's algorithm, not that they're keeping track of that somewhere, but if you looked at most people's algorithm, it would be a scattered, that it would show no true priorities. I'll give you one better. If you look at most people's checkbooks, who keeps a checkbook? If you look at most people's online register, I'm from the 1900s. You have to forgive me. You'll show a bunch of scattershot. If you have more than a few priorities, you really have no priorities. But those priorities are what drive our objectives. Our objectives are what drive our tasks. So my buddy Adam Burge is really good at managing his priorities and his objectives. And it's always confusing to people when they see the production that he can put up in the windows he can put up. Like, how does he do that? Well, this is exactly what I'm talking about. He's crystal clear on his priorities and his objectives. He's not wandering aimlessly through his day. So, Adam, I'd love to hear what you have to say on this first thing we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree with you that we've got to have priorities. And one of my biggest priorities, number one, is waking up early. Now, I think about waking up early back when I worked with my dad when I was a kid doing concrete, pouring and finishing and bricklaying. Waking up early back then was like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. Let's be honest, that's early. What we do oftentimes, getting up at 6:37 is sufficient enough, but I am in my chair working at 8 a.m. So the things that I've gotten done first that are important to me, my daily Bible reading, my exercise, my time with my wife, my little dog, the things that I really want to do, I make sure I get those things done before 8 o'clock, because when 8 o'clock starts, I'm sitting down at my desk, I'm making my first phone call, I'm going over my to-do list, things I've got to get done, and I'm busy writing business. I'm not busy doing other things that are extraneous. In fact, I'm so busy writing business right now. I've got a $50,000 annuity I got to find some time to write today that I sold about an hour and a half ago. Hey
guys, can we all pray for Adam and hope he finds time to write that?
But see, that's what happens when I feel my own personal experience when I wake up early to get my day started.
I love it, dude. Yeah. It used to be like, I got a $50,000 annuity, and you're like, I got to get around to it.
Yeah, right.
So Adam writes a lot of large cases is what I'm getting at here. Like, he's got a $600,000. Well, I don't know if I want to talk about that, but he's got one about to pop right after this call. But part of the reason is because he's so priority driven, right? Yeah. And Adam, if I could reenact briefly, if the average person is going to start making dials at 8 a.m., mm-hmm. This is what it looks like. Cut to 11:17.
Right.
Right? Not prepared, not crisp, not ready to go. Right. By the way, you have to have your hair messed up and be like in a janky t-shirt and like unbrushed teeth, if you could simulate that over Zoom.
Exactly. Yeah.
For YouTube. But yeah, no, dude, what he just said, and I'm sorry to jump in, I just can't help myself sometimes. What he said is so key. It's done early. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not up at 6 and doing those priorities, then you're it's like starting the race late, right? I could beat anybody in a race just as long as I got good enough head start. Right. I could beat Tyreek Hill in a race as long as I got enough of a head start. So
waking up early isn't hard to go to bed on time.
Another priority.
I mean, I can stay up till 11 or 12, but if I do that, I'm not going to get started at 8 o'clock and feel like I'm actually at my work and doing well at it. So I go to bed at 10 o'clock. I don't care if there's another episode of Friends I want to watch. I turn it off. I just go to bed. I have to prioritize that I've got to be in bed at 10 o'clock if I'm going to feel like I can wake up at 6 and get all the things done that I want to do, and so I can get started to work at 8 o'clock. And then when I'm working. I'm not taking phone calls from family and friends, and I love them all. Unless it's urgent, unless it's very important, I'm happy to do that. But most of the time, it's just they're just calling to visit. But after a while, now that I've been doing this for so long, people just know, don't call Adam between 8 and 12, unless it's really important. Because when I'm working, I'm focusing.
Yep, you train the people in your life. You train people how to treat you.
Right.
If you stop everything all the time, always, ever, then you're telling the world, attention world, I am a doormat. I am here for you, for all of you, right?
And I learned that from you, Stephen. To be really honest, I learned that from you. There were times I would call.
Why? Because it was hard to get a hold of me.
But I know it's not because you don't want to talk, or you don't have, that you don't want to make time. You do want to make time. It's just that when you're not answering, it's because you're busy. You're doing things as well. And so then I know right now he's busy. It's fine. I'll talk to him later. He'll know to call me back. I'll find time to call him later on this evening or what have you. But then first thing at 8 o'clock in the morning, I think it's important to point out is that when 8 o'clock rolls around, I'm choosing the hardest task that day to get done first. I've got to get that.
If you didn't hear it, say it again, Adam.
I choose the hardest task I've got to get done that day first.
Yep. You know what ineffective people do, Adam? They do the easy stuff first. And then the harder gets. Here's the problem with hesitation. With hesitation, the harder gets heavier.
Right.
When you hesitate, the harder gets heavier.
Yes.
And then it turns into I didn't get around to it.
Yeah. But then that becomes discouraging, because then days go by, this very important task that actually means a significant amount of money in your income is not getting done, and it wears on you, it bothers you, your conscience feels heavy because you know you're not doing what you should be doing when you're working, and you're not getting paid, and even worse, the client is not being served. That's what really bothers me, is that when I've got business I've got to write, it's not because I'm not making time for it. It's because I get behind because I'm writing all these other clients first. But the ones who are patient with me, I know I can take a few days extra to get to them. And the people that are being impatient, I can take care of those people, right now. And so I just have to learn I eat that frog, like Mr. Tracy says, right? You just eat that frog. What is the hardest, most difficult, unpleasant thing you got to get done first, and do that one first. Get it done. And then when you get it done, boy, the rest of the day you feel like you're on fire, man.
Yep.
You feel like you've got, look at all the things I've already gotten done today. And then that energy just builds up. And before you know it, your day rolls around and the 7 or 8 items on your to-do list are now done. And
makes the prettier frogs taste better too.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really my priority list. I got a priority list right here. It was funny when you and I were talking earlier. I had put together a priority list of things I got to get done today. I just got back from vacation last night, and I went, okay, what's got to be done this week? And I prioritized that list: A, B, C, D, E. What are the A's? What are the B's? What are the C's? What are the D's? What are the E's? And that list is changing often throughout the day.
Yep.
When it has to.
And I didn't say A, B, C, D, E. I would tell you this. If you haven't read First Things First, watch the A, B, C, D, E video first.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't read First Things First, do the video first. That'll help you understand the book a lot better. So, love it, Adam. Any other thoughts? I love what you said so far, right? 8
I can go on about this for hours.
Do the important things first. Mm-hmm. And those are non-obvious things sometimes, right? Doing those important things first. We might think I got to get on the phone. Well, you got to get up early enough to do that stuff first, so that you're in the right space when you hit the phones, and then do the hardest stuff first. That is such a key, man. I appreciate your help, Adam. Appreciate your example. You set a heck of an example on efficiency and managing all three. And that's awesome. Thank you for sharing with us, brother. Looking forward to seeing you and Cindy here in a few weeks. Actually, I'll see you before National Boot Camp, but I get to see you twice. There you go. Yeah. Love it. Awesome.
Look forward to it too.
All right. So here's a few other thoughts I just wanted to give you. And when people are inefficient, it's a priority problem. They think it's a time problem. Right? They'll look at how, Adam Burrs is already, issue paid, I don't know how much in annuities, crazy amount of life, and they'll go, he just has something I don't. You're right, but it's not what you think. They think he's got some sort of magic trick or some sort of trick play. But the honest truth at the end of the day is what he has is priorities, right? You look at what Andy gets done. You look at what other top leaders get done in the windows they get it done. To a low performer, they've got to have something. They're always looking for the cheat code. When the real God's honest truth at the end of the day is what it is priorities and objectives. And you want to connect the dots. So if you want to draw this out, right, it's priorities, arrow, objectives, arrow, tasks. That should all connect, because when you do that, when you connect that, then no task will feel that heavy because it is directly connected to your priorities. Does that make sense? Like working on my priorities gives me life, gives me fuel. There's certain tasks in of themselves, if I don't have that connection, I'm going to go, I didn't get to that. And now what's the problem? I'm not going to give it the attention and the energy that it merits. Make sure you connect those dots, and always ask yourself this question: what am I going to give my energy and attention to? It's always funny when people want to point something out to me, like, "Did you see what so and so posted?" And I'm like, "Nope." Why? It's not a priority to me. It doesn't merit my time, attention, or energy, right? The things that don't matter to me at all. Does that make sense? I've got but 3 basic crystal clear priorities. Anything outside of that, I don't get time for, right? I don't got time to see what happened or this happened or that happened or did you hear? I don't have time for it. This is not my priorities. My priorities are crystal clear. There's only 3 of them. And if it don't fit, it don't fit. It don't go. I don't care. I genuinely don't care. Once you get clear on priorities, you all the stuff that bothers you, you won't care about. You'll stop missing the people that ain't missing you. You know what I'm saying? You'll stop being so absorbed in things that don't matter in the big picture. I'm gonna talk more about that in the execution piece when I talk about that later. All right, so that's the first part. You got to you and I got to not only get but stay clear on our priorities and objectives because of this thing called scope creep that we're all susceptible to. That's where we're crystal clear, right? Especially coming out of a big event, we're crystal clear. But then next thing we start watering down our priorities. So get and work to keep. From time to time, I'll look back at my calendar and go, did I honor my priorities through what I did the last 30 days? So next thing, so once you get that, then you have to have a visible calendar. And it's funny, I gave Mimi an option on one of these, one of the 2 to talk about, but I knew what she was going to pick. She loves talking about having a visible calendar. She's got a lot going on. She's got kids in school. She's got just handling a lot and still gets business written, still gets new agents recruited, still gets help to new agents, right? Nothing bugs me more than when someone says, I've called my upline 5 times and no one has reached out. I'm like, what the heck? Mimi provides help for her agents. She writes business. She recruits. Just had one of their best months, I think, ever in issue paid production as a team. So, Mimi, talk to us a little bit about visible calendar.
That was a reason why you were tricking me with those 2 options. Thank you. So, visible calendars. If I don't have a visible calendar, Stephen, I will be out of business. So, what I like to think about when I think of a visible calendar is that you said, okay, I'm going to run business today, but you don't even know which client you're going to miss. So it goes back to that priority you were talking about with Adam. So if you say you're going to run business, you have a life, you want to be successful, you need guidance. So a visible calendar gives you guidance. That's the first thing I think about. It gives you guidance, it gives you directions. So you can't say I'm running business and then you don't know where you're going. where are you going? So you be lost. You don't know when you make it if you don't know where are you going. So that's what a calendar can do for you. So what do you put in there? Adam kind of made my job easier on this because you prioritize your tasks and then you put them on your calendar. So if you ask me, what are the things that you put on your calendar? I'm kind of like Adam. I woke up early. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I do my meditation. I read. I write my affirmation. I have multiple books of those where I write my things. Those are my priority. It's on my schedule. And then after that, I got my kids stuff that I take care of. I have to get them ready for school, take them to school. And then I come to the office. If it's my dial day, the dial day isn't there. How many dials do you make, baby? I'm one of those people, Stephen. I will dial until I beat my foot. So I don't do just 2 hours of dials. If I need 20 appointments, guess what? I'm going to be dialing all day. And when I say all day, I don't mean I make $35 and I say, well, Stephen, I dial all day. I didn't book it. How many dials did you make? 35?
I got to jump in. I was going to try not to. I was like, Adam got me going and I started jumping in. Okay. What you said about I dial till I get my 20 appointments. It's a simple, subtle shift. And if people can make that in their minds, they dial till they get the result. They work till they get the result. Here's the difference. You can work to soothe your conscience or you can work to accomplish. Most people work to soothe their conscience. And then they'd be like, well, I made 2 hours of dials. I didn't get any appointments. Oh, well, these leads suck, whatever, But that's working to soothe your conscience. Working to accomplish is different. That's where I work until I get the result. Relentless. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And I remember one thing you taught me a long time ago, Stephen. You say be activity driven, not so much the result. Be activity driven, because if you do the activity, the result will come.
Yep.
Okay, so that's why I really never worried about how many hours do you down. I was just down until I went whatever apps I need to buy. You know, if I need 10 apps this week, then I'll be down to go the appointments to get those apps, and then see enough clients. They don't show up. They don't show me. I done someone else if I'm doing telesales. How many appointments do you run in a telesales? I don't know. I get 12, 14, 15, Stephen. I'm always on the phone. So these things are on my schedule. What do you do in your dead time? I keep that one. What do you do? I call an agent. I know my agent. So all of that is on my schedule. It's in there. All of it. So you have to put those things on your schedule. Think about it, Stephen. It creates efficiency, like you were talking about. If I go in a home, I only have one appointment, and I get a talker in that home. How many hours do you think I'm going to spend in that home?
If you only have the one appointment,
yeah,
you might still be living there.
I might just move. Because you don't have a schedule. You don't have priorities. You don't have anywhere else to go. They're fun to hang out with. I will just keep talking to them. So having a schedule keep you efficient. Because if you have a full schedule with 5, 6, 7 appointments to run, trust me, this is my line, Stephen. I stay on my plane. You and I can't talk, Stephen. This is what we're going to do. Promise you, once you get approved, I'm coming back to deliver your policy so we can continue that conversation, because we can talk. And I don't want to be rude, but I have other clients to go see. Just, I find a nice way to say it so that I can get out. But if I didn't have a schedule and have a schedule, and just be hanging out, maybe drinking a beer or something, even if you're not supposed to. So you don't have anything better.
The other side is the flip side. Not only will you stay longer with clients that are going to buy, you'll stay longer with clients that won't buy.
They're not going to buy.
They're going to do.
You don't.
And then that client will just beat you.
That's it.
And then you get back on the phone and you're like, I'm just not effective. Yeah, because you stay in the spot. But if you had a busy calendar, you'd have been like, I'm out of here, man. I am not talking to this dum-dum. I'm sorry, this lovely client that is somehow the future GoFundMe people of America. That's when you're there, just bounce because you got another appointment. All right, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So having a schedule will keep you accountable to yourself as well.
Yep.
Because hey, I got a goal. I got a goal. It's on my schedule. It's on my book. I need to hit these activities. Yep. So then you can be accountable to yourself. And also what I like to think, not just it gives you accountability, clarity, efficiency, but it also helps your coach or mentor to coach you better and help you. So if I know I'm going to be out in the field, I don't really do that anymore with Stephen, but back in the days, I used to tell a bunch of people I'm going to be out in the field. But if you don't have a schedule to know when you're going to be out, when you're going to be doing telesales, how are you going to tell people? We don't know when you're calling because you just want to talk, or you're calling because you're in a home, or you're dialing. So it's good to have a schedule and have it there and share these activities with your coach, because you're not the only one that goes in. I promise you that. So they're all busy, but we can prioritize like Adam was talking about. So that gives you accountability. And also, don't just create a schedule, stick to it. Create it and stick to it. If it's in your schedule, it must be done. That's why it's important, again, with the priority. If it's not priority, don't put it in.
Yep.
So, for example, Stephen, something related to the business, I was laughing when you said you can have a busy day, but not an effective, right? So, if you wake up, all you do in the morning when you're supposed to be dialing or running an appointment is doing pending.
I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I'm going to talk about why you shouldn't be doing pending if you can write business. I'm going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, good mind thinks alike. So if that's what you're gonna be doing, no, this is downtime. Like I was doing that with one of my agents 4 days ago. That agent was working, supposed to be dialing, but calling the carriers. promise to the carriers. They are the one with the money, but it's frustrating.
Yeah. And you need to get some help.
Darling, stay focused on your dials. Maybe in between clients, you can call. Like I used to do that when I didn't have an assistant or anything like that. I still have to do my pending because I didn't have an assistant. So what did I do? I do it in between my clients. So if I'm driving from point A to point B, in between that time, if I'm not coaching an agent, I'm calling the carriers. So you got to use your time effectively. You still need to do your pending. Don't leave your pending for like 2 weeks and then it's not taken care of. But do your big things first, like you guys were talking earlier. Put them on the calendar, prioritize, and then at the end of the day, after you make your dial, you see your clients, and then you can the carriers if you have to, if you don't have anybody help. Go ahead, Stephen. It seems like you want to say something.
No, I was just you're killing it on having a visible calendar and the stuff that's on it, and then not when you have your big blocks, if you end up with a gap, have something productive to do. Don't just whistle away the time, right? Don't just killing time is slow suicide, just because you're wasting life. And having not just dials, but how many dials in an hour? You should be hitting 50 dials an hour. I can't do it that fast. Let me show you. It's not that complicated. All you do is dial the number once. Boop, green button. Oh, rings 3 times. Voicemail. Hang up. Boop, green button again. I think you got to press it twice. Boop. You've done it's not crazy to think of getting to 50 dials in an hour. It's not crazy at all. You're going to talk to a few, sure, but I'm just telling you that's the pace you got to be at. So it's not just 4 hours of dialing. That's 200 dials, right? And I love the stuff you said too about, I'm getting to the objective, right? If that means, hey, guess what? If you work at a factory and y'all don't get the stuff built in the amount of time that you work, what is that thing they call at a factory? They call it mandatory overtime, right? Because the factory is going to get the stuff built. You're the factory. So even if it's mandatory overtime, you've got to get that premium written. You've got to get those recruiting numbers done. I love it. Any last thoughts? Maybe I appreciate all the good stuff you're sharing.
One quick thing, Stephen. Why do people don't do that $50 within an hour you're talking about? It's because they're distracted.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So like I was saying, if you making your dials and then you checking your text message and then you're on WhatsApp and then you talking to people, you're on Facebook, of course you're distracted. You're not focusing. It's that multitasking thing that you were saying. Every time you take your mind away from be down or putting in the new number, it's going to slow you down. Of course, you're not going to get your objective.
You're exactly right. Scrolling Facebook, checking my WhatsApp. Oh, God, scrolling Facebook. There might be no bigger waste of life than scrolling Facebook. I'm not building my own life. Let me look at other people's. But no, you're right. It's when you're not distracted, 50,000 an hour is not hard. It's work, right? But you should be and I'm talking about this in a little bit about distractions. I got some stuff on that. But you should be, when you're dialing, you should be so focused on dialing that you wouldn't even know the house was burning down until the fireman dragged you out. That's focus, brother.
Right there.
I love it. Mimi, I can't wait to see you at boot camp. I'm so fired up about that guy coming into Salt Lake City too, by the way. When I got that text, I was like, you didn't see me because I was over here, but I gave it the old... I was fired up. So appreciate you, Mimi. Look forward to seeing you here soon. All right. Mimi started hitting on it, right? Each of these builds, right? Priorities, that helps build your calendar. Calendar helps give you accountability. So what I wanted Rogers and Kim to talk about a few minutes on is leveraging accountability, because that's the third thing. Having the priorities clear, having the calendar clear, but then leveraging accountability. Because let me tell you something. Secret calendars don't get the same results. My calendar's a secret. It's not gonna get the same results. Why? Because you might be as full of crap as I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can sell. Kim, I can sell. Guess who I can sell? I can sell me. That's why Holly needs to know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
Talk to us a little bit about leveraging accountability, and I'm going to talk a little bit about action triggers.
All right. Thanks, Stephen. Rogers and Kimberly Straughter out of Detroit, Michigan. Director Jeremy Edwards. part of Stephen Holly and Davies group, and we're grateful for this opportunity. We're grateful for Andy and Jane for this. So leveraging that calendar, that schedule, we think about our being accountable to each other. It's so important, and that's what has helped us. Let's say you're like, okay, well, I don't have a spouse. Well, be accountable to your parents then. I will highlight on that really quick. I remember one time actually calling my dad, and my dad said to me, don't you supposed to be working, son? And the thing about that is that I had got my parents into the routine of my schedule where I called my dad and he said, don't you supposed to be working? And that just shows that you can say, well, I'm not married. That's easy for them. They're accountable to each. Well, be accountable to somebody. If it's not your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, be accountable to your growing up line. Check in. And so that's important. You leverage that because it makes you do what you know you should be doing. Well, we know what we should be doing. And just to highlight, and people say, well, I'm multitasking. Multitasking is just a fancy word for putting off what you know you should be doing first. That's all it is. It just sounds fancy. I'm multitasking. No, you're putting off what you should be doing first. So, yeah, Adam was right. First things first. Eat that frog. Brian Tracy. You have to do that because if you don't put it on your calendar, somebody else will put something on the calendar for you. So all of us been through the summer. What do we have this summer? Multiple graduation parties and picnics and so forth. You can't go to all of them. You just can't. And so the key is, who wants a doctor? When you think about the doctor, how he or she leveraged their schedule, who wants a doctor that you can call and they're available whenever you want them? I would be leery of that doctor. I would. You want a doctor where, and we probably experienced this, you're trying to get in for this appointment and you're constantly calling same day, trying to see if somebody canceled their appointment. Somebody couldn't make their appointment so you can get that appointment. And so that's how we should leverage our schedule with our clients as well. They should know that we're so busy that they do not want to say, oh, something came up. We have to reschedule. Because I have to emphasize this. We are devaluing ourselves if we do not use our schedule as leverage. I'll repeat that. We are devaluing ourselves when we do not stick to a schedule and use it as leverage. And so it's so important to make sure we do that. Kim has some points too. When we talk about that, we have this thing that we do as well on Sunday evenings as we prep for our week. But she has some other points too. You just got to hear what Kim has to say.
Yes, thanks again, Stephen, for having us today on the call. So Rogers is exactly right. We at one point were getting into this habit of letting people cancel on us and not valuing our own time. But when we actually make ourselves accountable to each other, we're accountable to the team, we're accountable to our loyal clients, then we make sure that we have a schedule that we can both see. So we were guilty at one point of saying, well, yeah, I got a calendar, as you said, a secret calendar. It's like, if Kim doesn't see it, it doesn't exist. If Rogers doesn't see it, it does not exist. So this is what we do as a habit. Sunday after worship, this is what we do. We sit down and look at the schedule for the week, and let's prioritize. Who are we going to call and contact, whether it's our leads that we purchase, which current clients need our help, right now. Let's get them on our calendar this week. And as he mentioned before, all of these other things, these social activities, it gets to the point now where people basically, they don't ask us as often because they're probably going to hear a no. And not because we don't want to or we don't love them, is that right now, this is what's really important. Because we're accountable to you and Holly. We're accountable to the team. So if we say we're going to do a dial session on a certain day with the team, well, one of us is going to be on there and it's going to be on the calendar. And before we make any type of plans, we discuss it with each other first, and then it goes on that calendar. So if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, and you know what? What's really important about that too is that we work together as a team. And so when somebody asks us to do something, we'll say, well, Kim and I have to check our calendars. We'll check our schedules. That way, I'm not throwing my wife under the bus saying, well, Kim said we can't do this.
Well, even if he did, Kim wouldn't mind because I don't roll like that.
Right. Yeah. And so there's a phrase too. I just want to say this, and it's early in the day, early in the week, early in the month, early in the year. And that's a phrase that will help us all when it comes to our goals and being effective. We just got to put those things first.
I love it. Otherwise, here's the conversation. If you don't do it early in the year, early in the month, early in the week, early in the day, here's the conversation that you're going to have in December. No, not December. It'll be January 14th or 15th. Well, that policy should have counted for last year. Exactly. You know why? Because you missed the trip.
So
I need you. That should have counted. That should have counted. I know it drafted on January 28th, but so if you don't know what those conversations are, then you're being effective. Hey guys, I love it. I appreciate that. Great tip on having that time together. I know we talked about that years ago. You know, if you guys are going to be in business together, stay on the same page, take that time. All right, here's what we're doing this week. Awesome. I appreciate you guys so much. I can't wait till Monday. It's going to be awesome.
We're looking forward to it.
John Davis from Bang Bang is going to be there. Just confirmed it via. Yep. So cool. All righty. Well, let me get into some of the principles and practices, right? Because that's really what I want to give you on the backside of that. Those are three things those three things are true, right? You can't argue with it. You have got, if you want to be effective, you have to have crystal clear priorities and objectives. You've got to have a visible calendar, and you have to leverage accountability. Now, one piece on accountability I'll give you is it's a trick psychologically. If you develop action triggers, right, throughout the day, I do this after I do that. Burge what he said was all action trigger, right? And he's just so effective. He's used to doing that, but I want to explain what he's doing there. That's called action triggers. First, he gets up, and I promise you, I don't know the exact action triggers. I'm guessing, but it's like first, I brush my teeth, I take my vitamins, I read my Bible. Like he's got each thing comes after another, and that keeps you doing those. So all throughout your day, action triggers are key. Make sure you've got action triggers. After this, I do that. After this, I do that. That's one of the things in the beginning of the day to just work through your calendar. After this, I do that. It just keeps you on time, keeps you prompt. All right. So first principle and practice I want to talk about. Attention management is as important as time management. And I hit on that earlier. Here's why. There's only 3 types of attention that we have. And we don't have infinite amounts of these. These are finite. Like you've only got so much of the first 2, which are really the most important. The 3 types of attention that you and I can give something, we either have proactive attention, active attention, or inactive attention. Proactive attention, that's when you are in the zone, you are on point, you are focused. That's when you're working so hard on it. Like I said, you would not know the house was burning down until the firemen dragged you out. That is proactive attention. So we've only got so much of that. That's why it's so important to decide where you're going to put it. I think about this. I've got buddies that, they've not accomplished anything in life, but by God, they're all in on college football. They are all in. Never miss a Saturday game day. Always know everything about every recruit potentially ever, right? Now, this kid's in 3rd grade right now, but I'm telling you, he's going to be a 5-star quarterback, and we're going to get him and it's like they're putting so much proactive attention on something that doesn't matter in the big picture. Right? Nobody laying in hospice is going, I wish I would have known more about college football. It ain't that important. It is not in my 3 priorities. Does that make sense? My 3 priorities are crystal clear. So I don't give proactive attention to things that don't fit in those 3 priorities. Now, active attention, that's where you're still productive, but you're not as crisp as proactive attention. So you kind of look at it like a gas tank. When your proactive attention is used up, then you drift into active attention. That's where you're just not as effective. That's why someone that's super passionate about 18 million other things is super ineffective on the phone. because they've used up all their proactive attention on things that don't matter. So now they're trying to do something that does matter. They're only able to give it active attention, or worse, if they've already used up all their proactive attention and all their active attention, now you're down to inactive attention. That's where you can say, I put in 500 dials and I didn't get anything done, because you let it get down to the worst type of attention, because they are finite. You can't just go, I'll just get more proactive attention. You only have so much of that in the day. It's very similar to energy levels, right? What are you going to give your highest energy? So if it's something that matters, we need to save our proactive attention for it. And we've all been in that moment where we've screwed up. I know I have. I've used up my proactive attention. I've used up my active attention. And then I'm having a conversation trying to coach someone, and I'm just like struggling, right? So attention, it's valuable currency. If you use up all your proactive attention on things that don't matter, the things that do matter are gonna suffer. The same thing in relationship, right? I've got to give Holly proactive attention so that our relationship thrives. If all that she has left is my inactive attention, where I'm just like, right? No, sir. All right. Here's the next principle in practice. Monotasking. We do one thing at a time. We do it incredibly well. Multitasking is a myth. And so anytime that I don't want to do something, like I know it's bad for me, I try and change the word. If I change the word, like I don't call my calendar, I call it my covenant, because it makes me think about Indiana Jones, and then I take it more seriously. Yeah, I know it's childish. I don't care. It works for me. Find out what works for you. That works for me. It's like the covenant. Dun, 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 dun. I got to get my dials. I don't call it multitasking. I call it multi-crapping. So if I ever catch myself multi-crapping, I'm like, Davies, idiot, you're multi-crapping. What are you doing? Right? Because no one wants to multi-crap, right? That just sounds terrible. All right. Next principle in practice. When you're thinking about your proactive attention, spending it on the most important tasks, here's the thing. Here's the next principle in practice. Tweak your calendar to fit your rhythm. Tweak your calendar to fit your rhythm. Find out what your rhythm is. So I read some stuff on this, and it made me think on it, work on it, right? So I have 2 times where I have proactive attention. After I wake up and do all my important stuff in the morning, I've got a good block of proactive attention. Here's what I was doing previously. I would get up and then I would work out and use that I'm like, it just wasn't working in my rhythm. So what I do, I start earlier. Then I work out in the middle of the day, and then I've got another block of proactive attention in the afternoon. I'm not saying that everybody has to do that. Not everybody's wired the same way, but find a rhythm that works for you. If you're using up all your proactive attention, but you feel like you're monitoring your priorities well, maybe look at your rhythm and make a tweak there. All right, next principle in practice. Death to interruptions. In case you haven't noticed, I like to use extreme language because it makes me take things more seriously. Death to interruptions. Like if you want to put a poster up wherever you're working, put like a skull and crossbones and death to interruptions, right? No quarter to the enemy, right? The black spot, like on Treasure Island. Be uninterruptible when you're working on your most important items. If it's that important and we're going to give it proactive attention, we have to be uninterruptible during that time. If I'm working on the most important things, I've got to be uninterruptible. Now, let me tell you one of the most insidious interruptions, the one that just likes to slither and slide in. Emotional interruptions, right? We will be focused. We will be on point. We will be using our proactive attention on the most important thing. And then we'll have a client cancel. We'll have a no-show. We'll have a recruit quit. We'll have something, and then we have that emotional interruption. So I operate best with laws, right? And you say, well, Stephen, don't you always teach principles? Yes, but also from principles extend laws that I can't bend. So remember that you're in sales before you start convincing yourself of something. Time limit on all negative interruptions. So something bad happens, get good and ticked off, But by God, only let it last 10 seconds and get back to it. Because if you're going to spend the rest of the day ticked off, here's what you're going to do. You're going to deplete all your proactive attention. And your proactive attention is going to go on. And then now you're down to inactive attention. And now you're back on the phone trying to book appointments. Right? Time limit. Yeah. Are negative or emotional interruptions going to slide in? Yeah. I don't know how. Maybe if we dialed in a concrete, protection that we can. I don't know. All I know is even when I'm being as deaf to interruptions as possible and no one's calling me and no one's interrupting me, there's still those emotional interruptions that can slide in. So just have a rule. I'm only allowed 10 seconds. I'm only allowed 5 seconds. I think about Robbie Kraft. He called me one time when this was when something bad went down. Every once in a while you just deal with these things, right? It was an agent that was crooked and we figured it out. But he said, look, I'm going to tell you something and we're going to be good and pissed off for about 10 minutes or 5 minutes, or I forget whatever he said. And then we got to get productive again. And I was like, yes, sir. Thank you. Awesome. Love the rule. Let's go. So no interruptions. And what will happen is you'll end up training people. I tell people this all the time, especially when they go full time. I'll be like, hey, let me tell you, I'm able to predict the future as I look and I peer into the future. Now that you're full time, I see things. I see a phone call. It's your cousin. He needs help moving. Oh, I had another premonition. So-and-so's, you're the only person that's going to be able to help them cut that grass. I mean, after all, you work for yourself. And I'm having, and they always start laughing. I'm like, I'm telling you, that's what's coming for you. Once you go full time, the whole world's going to be like, it's like, I don't know, they send word out and they're like, hey, he don't got a job no more. And then everybody's like pulling on you. I'm just telling you, death interruptions. I think about my buddy Jeremico. He learned this from being in the factory. When you're on the factory line, no one can interrupt you. When you are recruiting, when you're selling, when you're building, no one can interrupt you. All right, next principle in practice. Don't let Parkinson's Law eat your lunch. Parkinson's Law first appeared in a 1955 copy of magazine The Economist. It was in an essay. Parkinson's Law, here's the definition. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. That's the law. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. You can look it up. This is one of those things that's just true as gravity. So when you're looking at your calendar, don't let the work grow to fill the void. Squeeze the work into the box it belongs in. You're in charge. You're in charge. You squeeze that work into the box it belongs in. Otherwise, it's going to expand to fill the time, and then important stuff's not going to get done. And then we're going to go, I just don't have the time. I can't grow a team because I don't have the time. If you say that, Parkinson's Law is eating your lunch. I'm just telling you, don't let Parkinson's Law eat your lunch. All right, next principle in practice. Do a time audit. Do a time audit. Let's start. We're going to be done here in just a few minutes. So we'll go Wednesday, 1:30 p.m., September 25th, until Wednesday, 1:30 p.m., October 2nd. I feel like that's right. Just looks like I can do the whole January, February. Yeah, I feel like that's right. October 2nd. That checks out. What did you do with that week? It's 168 hours. No more, no less. You and I got the same. Andy's got the same. The most effective people in the world have the same amount of hours as the least effective people in the world. It's what they do with it. Now, here's what I know about you, and here's what I know about me. You and I are good at big blocks, right? We're here. We're on this call. This was a big block. We managed it well. We will be at National Boot Camp because we're good at big blocks. We manage it well. What you'll see over the course of your time audit is you can make great gains 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes at a time. When you do a time audit, the thing you want, so you do that time audit, just use the notes on your phone, use paper if you want. If you're from the 1900s like me and you want to use paper, put a little notebook card in the back of your pocket, something like that. Every 30 minutes, every 20 minutes, something like that. Give an accounting for what you did with that time. When you look back at it, you'll go, good Lord, I could 20 minutes here, 20 minutes here. All of a sudden, you got 10 more productive hours. All of a sudden, you got 15 more productive hours. So you do the time audit side by side with a stop doing list. And then just right at the top of it, stop doing list. And as you see your time audit, add stuff to it. Here's the question. Does that activity get me closer to what I say I truly want? Does that activity get me closer to what I say I truly want? If it doesn't, it goes on the stop doing list. social media scrolling, keeping up in all these different Facebook groups people get involved in. Good Lord, who's got time for that? Following news stories ad nauseum. Who's got time for that? Rumor mills. Let me tell you something. Gossipy people don't need anybody else to enable their behavior. Gossipy people, don't do that to them. Don't enable that negative behavior. Stay away from the rumor mills. I talked about this a little bit earlier, being an expert on things that don't change your position in life. Right? I'm all up to date on college football recruiting, but this didn't get done. Being an expert on things that don't change your position in life. And here's another one. Beware of true but useless. TBU, true but useless. Things that are true but are useless. Right? Did you hear about this? That may be true, but it's useless because it doesn't apply to my priorities. Ergo, I don't care. All right? Principle and practice. Next principle and practice. Overinvest in resources. Efficient people overinvest in resources. Inefficient people underinvest in resources. Have more leads and opportunities that allows you to be more picky. Like here would be a great thought for you to have. Oh, geez, I'm kind of teed me up for this. It's actually, it was in my notes of things to talk about. I'll pass this small app off to a new agent to write because I'm so busy with all the leads and opportunities I've got. Versus, I'm going to track down this one tiny app because I ain't got nothing else to do. Highly effective people have more leads than they can call, more opportunities than they can attack. That allows you to be picky. It keeps you from chasing looky-loos because, quite frankly, you won't have time to. Now, on the flip side of that, when you find the great clients, move in with those clients. Referrals, right? When you have more leads than you can call, you will find more of the better clients. When you find those better clients, get referrals. Get referrals. Referrals are 10x more efficient than leads. So why would you not get a good client? Okay, now get in there and get those referrals. It's 10x more efficient than calling more leads. Remember with recruiting, more ads. The more ads you got out there, the more lists you got coming in, the less likely you'll be to try and turn a green apple into a red apple. I love that illustration from The View, right? You can't take that green apple and turn it into a red apple. That's what we try to do when we run one little paltry ad or two little paltry ads. Then we got, these people are awesome. No, those people are awesome in comparison. Right? In comparison, a bigger pool, you wouldn't even be chasing those folks around. Which is, again, the principle, right? Work where you're deserved, not where you're needed. All right, principle practice, next one. Staff up. You've got to continually build a staff. Here's the deal. 20% of the work you're doing is the most important work. That's where 80% of your results are coming from. The other 80%, staff up, staff out. And here's the thing. It's not a one-time thing. It is, I've watched Andy's whole journey. Throughout the years, he's continued to refine that 80-20 and continued to hire that part out. So what do you need to shift to get to the next level? Keeping yourself in your current and then the next level 20%, where that's what you're doing and you're staffing out the rest. Next principle and practice. Don't make multiple changes in search of unproven shortcuts. That kills efficiency. Inefficient people, they always got a new idea, a new plan, a new this, a new that. And it's like, don't change multiple things in search of unproven shortcuts. I'm just telling you, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of efficiency. Now, on the other hand, don't explain away other people's performance. If someone's outperforming you, they're more efficient than you, find out what they're doing and start doing that, right? Don't crap on strategies that work. I always like to say I change things around, right? So you don't have to do this, but this is what I have to do with myself. You're welcome to do it with yourself, but I do it with myself. So anytime I catch myself trying to explain, well, that wouldn't work. That's only working for them. There's only two things I'm allowed to say. I have to say, I'm not going to do that because I just don't have the ambition to win at a high level. Or, this is the worst one, my current level of arrogance won't allow it. That's why I won't do it. My current level of arrogance. I've got it all figured out. Those are the only two things I'm allowed to say when I get to the point I start trying to explain away why I'm not going to do what someone more efficient than me is doing. There's no third option for me. I have to be serious with myself. All right. Last principle in practice. Get coaching, schedule non-obvious vitals. Adam talked about some of those. Take time, schedule time to visualize your day going successfully. You will be more efficient. At the end of the day, daily download, reset, recapture the day's work, what needs to get, taking those times before and after. It doesn't seem obvious, but I'm telling you, make you more efficient. What did I not get done? What loose ends do I need to tie up? What other things do you need to have in there? We talked about reading. We talked about exercise. You're going to perform at a higher level. I'm fired up to hear Spencer's talk at National Boot Camp. I think he's talking about like those parts of it, like making sure you get the physical things you need to perform at a high level mentally. Like I'm telling you, all that, those are non-obvious things. Reading, you're not going to be as effective. Sure, it might seem like I'll just grind and make 50 more dials. Well, get up a little earlier, get that reading done. Guys, this is one thing I know about being efficient. It's a never-ending thing. I'm always trying to get more efficient. Please utilize those 4 resources that we talked about. I know those 4 resources will help you. They have helped me tremendously. I appreciate my guests for sharing. I can't wait to see the folks I'm going to see. I can't wait to see the folks I'm going to see on the road. I get so excited to get up there. You can ask Holly, like I'm a little kid when I get out on the road and get to see people, and then fired up to see everybody at National Boot Camp. If you're not coming to National Boot Camp, make that change. Make that change. I'll make the same deal I make with everybody. Come to National Boot Camp on Sunday. If it has not been worth you being there, find me. I'll give you cash back on the spot. That's how much I believe in National Boot Camp, guys. It is going to, I am so crazy excited about this event. We've never done an event like this. It is just, if you can see my hair stand up on my arms, thinking about the amount of impactful training and how people can build their own adventure as they get. This is so exciting. We got NatCon coming up after that, guys. This last quarter of the year is going to set the table for what you and I are capable of in 2025. What Holly and I want for everybody in the Alliance is for 2025 to be the best year in the history of your family. So let's get everything we got out of what we got left of 24. See y'all soon.